Are you an ambitious woman in your 30s, feeling stifled, unfulfilled, and somewhat stuck with your current work life? So you don't really know whether to leave your corporate job behind, start a business, or what are the next steps for you? What I found mentoring ambitious women like you, having read tons of resource on that topic, but also been in that same situation myself a number of years ago and now transitioned from the corporate world into business ownership, is that the biggest mistake you can make while trying to make the change is to delay the first steps until you figure out the final destination. And so with that in mind, if you don't pay attention to those inner frustration feelings, the chances are very high that you might find yourself in the very same situation of feeling frustrated, stuck, and not knowing what to do, but 3, 5, 10, or many more years later. So in this video, I will share with you the first steps, the principle that has changed everything for me, but it was so painful to learn. It will give you direction, and it will also help you start your journey of trying to figure out what to do in your work life in a smooth and meaningful way. Towards the end of the video, I will also share with you my strategy how to incorporate it in real life so you can do it and start creating, so you can save yourself years of struggle and start creating your ideal work life in an easier and faster way. Now, having reflected on my journey of going from the corporate world, shifting into self-employment and then entrepreneurship, I can see now that it was much easier to be caught in doing. So much so that at some point I became disconnected. I was lost because I didn't know what I wanted anymore. But I kept working, I kept pushing, because that's what you're supposed to do, right? And in that process, I've learned it doesn't matter whether you become older, have more knowledge, more experience, that feeling, that nagging feeling of, is it it? What if? Doesn't just disappear unless you intentionally address it. And the longer you leave it untended, the harder it is to unravel, because the stakes become increasingly higher. You suddenly have a mortgage to pay, family, older parents to look after, and life just happens, right? And business doesn't help either. And so the principle I will share with you now has changed everything for me, and was so hard and painful to learn and accept that it was so simple. And that principle is slow down to speed up. And so when you start or make a decision to slow down, you have an opportunity to create space, to seek clarity for yourself and for what you really want. And that in turn allows you to get onto the path of starting to figuring out what you really want to do. Therefore, create an intentional change in the process. Because the reality is, for most of us, we become disillusioned with our corporate jobs, careers, is that we don't really know who we are, what our values, what our strengths, weaknesses, what we want, what our goals, what our passions, and so we don't know how to get there, how to get to those goals, how to get to those dreams. And the business doesn't really help that, because instead of addressing the core, we end up patching the problem on the go. One tip here, there is no perfect time to start creating time for change. So start now. Start by creating little patches of time where you can get to know yourself and for what you really want, so you can start figuring out how does the change will look like for you. So The way I did it, I've started by reserving the quiet time for myself every Sunday by having a bath. I then started going to bed 10 minutes earlier before my husband does. So I have a couple of minutes for myself and also can write a couple of notes in my journal. I then also started waking up 10 minutes earlier so I can have my lemon water and read the book that I'm reading at the moment in peace before the world wakes up. And so the idea here is to allow yourself to become present with yourself, to become comfortable with being with yourself without any input or distractions, however long you can, 5, 10, 15, 30 minutes. I mean, if you're super busy, allow yourself a couple of minutes in the morning when you wake up and set an intention for the day before you open up social media, emails, and get into that reactive mode. Or just simply have your coffee in peace. And so by simply intentionally slowing down, you start creating space to become present to why you're feeling stuck and what options you'd like to pursue going forward. Whether that's to leave your corporate job behind, start a business, or something else. And that is exactly what I help women like you to do, to uncover and start exploring options so you can create the life you really want through the work that is fulfilling, purpose-driven, and done in a supportive, like-minded community. And so if you're ready to take the next step forward and start creating the life you really want instead of just being busy, I'd invite you to follow the link in the video description below so that you can start exploring options that become available to you when you start your own business.